Hello and welcome to Luminar Coffee Break. Today is our new Artist Friday, Ask Me Anything. What you can do is ask me any questions you have about Luminar AI, Aurora HDR, photography in general. Pop those in the chat and I will do my best to get those questions answered for you today. To get us started, I have a list of the most searched for keywords in the Luminar AI user guide over the past week. The first one, the one that most people are asking for, is how to export. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick demo on how to export your images from Luminar AI. Once you've done your edits, you don't want them to just reside on your computer. You want to get them out there into the world, whether that's on social media, sending them to a print lab, printing them at home, whatever you do with your images, they're no good if they're just languishing on your computer. So what you're going to do is go here to Luminar AI, to the export button here, and you can go to save to disk. You can send it directly to email, handful of other options. I'm going to choose save to disk, click that save to disk button, and that's going to pull up an export dialog box. You can rename your file here however you like. You can choose where that file goes. I like to, if I'm saving it for social media, just put it in a folder on my desktop so I can easily find it when I'm ready to send that out and get that uploaded. Same with email. If I'm just sending it to a friend or a family member, the desktop is a great place to save those. If you're creating an archive copy of your edited file, you'll want to do a full resolution image and probably keep that in the same folder as your original images. So here are a few settings that you can choose from when you export your photos. If I'm saving for social media, what I recommend is going to that social media platform, checking and seeing what the recommended specifications are for that particular platform. See what they recommend. They're going to tell you how big it should be, what color space to use, and what file format. Most likely it's going to be a smaller size. For web and for email, you're going to choose an sRGB photo space. Most likely you're going to use a JPEG. And for online, for email, for social media, I'd probably pull that quality down to about 75. That gives you a really great viewable quality, but it's going to make it so it's a little harder for someone to print should they want to take your image without your permission. If you're wanting to save that archive copy, what I would do is make sure you're not resizing this, keep your original file size. You'll probably want to go with a Pro Photo color space, and in that occasion, I'd go with a full resolution TIFF file, no compression, 16-bit depth, and I would probably do a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Those are my personal recommendations. If you're sending to a print lab, that's where you're going to want to check with that print lab and see what file format works best for them so you can get the top quality that they're able to produce. All right, let's take a look here at the chat and see if there's any questions. Let's see. Belginder says, I have a Tamron 18 to 400. I don't get sharp birds flying, although I have shutter speed more than 1/2000. I use a Nikon D7500. That is an interesting question. Usually, so birds in flight, it really depends on the bird, how fast they're flying. So some birds, larger birds, are a little bit slower actually, but if you have tiny birds, they're hard to get. What you're going to want to pay attention to is making sure your autofocus settings in your camera are set correctly. Now, I'm not terribly familiar with the Nikon autofocus system, but on Canon, I know that you're going to want to be in the AI servo mode, which is going to be a tracking autofocus instead of a single point. That's going to be a big one to check. So whatever that automatically updating focus point is, once you lock it in, it tracks. That's what you're going to want to use. So hopefully that gives you a point in the right direction. Make sure you pull out your user guide for your camera. That's going to have a host of information, and possibly join a user group on Facebook or wherever you like to hang out to see if there is a Nikon group that likes to photograph birds. They're going to be able to give you the best possible suggestions. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next question here on the screen. We've got batch processing, and that is another great question. So I'm going to pop over to my catalog and scroll down here to this particular, let's see, actually this one, and we're going to take a look at this image here. So I processed this one earlier today, and now I want to our edit tab. Down here at the bottom, you can see that I applied to template, but then I edited it so I can create my own custom template that I can apply to other images in the series. To do that, I click on the ellipses and click save. And now when I go back over to my templates, I can go into my templates. Here's the one I just saved. I can rename it if I like. So click on that ellipses again, choose rename, and call this kitchen. So now I have a template that I can apply to other images that are similar or to any image that I want. But if I wanted to quickly batch process these across a series of images, so let's say you have a photo shoot and you want all of those images to have a cohesive look and feel, what I'll do here is go back to my catalog. I'm going to right click on this image and I'm going to go to the same folder where I have the rest of these images, and you can see that I have a series of images from that same photo shoot. What I can do is right click on that image, go to adjustments, and copy those adjustments. Then go to another picture I want to have those same adjustments on, right click, adjustments, and paste. And now those two images are going to have the same settings. You can see it just updated there. But if I want to go across a larger number of images, I can click that first one, hold down my shift key and click the last one in the series so it selects that entire range. Go back to my original one here that I edited, right click, adjustments, and synchronize adjustments. So that will give all of those images in that series those exact same settings. If I need to, I can go into each individual one, give them little tweaks, maybe a crop, maybe adjust where the vignette is, but now they all have that same look and feel. Looks like Allison has a question. With the scroll bar on the right side of the screen, how do I get it to stay? So I'm not aware of any issues with the scroll bar jumping around on its own. What I can say is, I think maybe you're wanting to keep it on the screen. Right now, it's only going to be there when you mouse over that portion of the screen. So let's say if I go over here to edit and I start to scroll, you see that scroll bar pops up. Give that a moment to render. There we go. So now that scroll bar appears, but only as I'm scrolling. So at this time, there's no way to get it to stay on the screen. What I would recommend, if that's important to you, reach out to our support team at support@skylum.com. Let them know why that's important to you, because that's something our designers and user interface designers need to take a look at and can possibly get fixed for you. Great question, Allison. All right, let's go back and take a look at one or two more of our frequently asked questions from the user guide. All right, next one here is crop. That's another great one. So if you go to our user guide and you search for crop, you will get directed to our composition AI tool. So let me pop back down here to this same image we were just working on, because I did apply a crop here. So we'll go ahead and go into our edit tab. And right here you can see composition AI. I'm going to go ahead and click into that. And you'll see the crop that I made as soon as it pops up and renders here. Give it just a moment. There we go. So what I did here is I opened the composition AI tool. I leveled it, did the upright perspective correction, and that corrects my horizontal and vertical lines. And then I chose composition AI to see what the recommended crop is from the AI. It was good, but I thought I could do better. So I pulled it in a little bit from the side, and it got that bit of a distraction from the handle down in the bottom left, and it brought it in more intimate with my subject. Let's see here. Belgender says, can we have a brush and the light tool? That's again a feature request that needs to be filed with support@skylum.com. However, what you can do is go over to our local masking tool and click on Add Basic, and that's going to give you almost every slider that you have available in the light tool that you can use with a brush. So hopefully that solves that problem for you, Belgender. Okay, let's go and take a look at maybe one more topic from the user guide. And I'm going to say, let me make this a twofer here. We're going to talk about clone and erase. So it's hard to know sometimes which one you should use. The erase tool is the easier of the two to use. You just simply brush over what you want to erase. The software calculates what to replace it with. And I would say about 80% of the time, it does a phenomenal job. But sometimes the computer samples other areas in the image that don't match what you're trying to put in that spot. So if that happens, that's when you want to switch to the clone tool, because that allows you to set your source area and you can choose what's going to be filled in that space that you're brushing. Let's make an example here. Let's go back over to this here. Let me go to my grid and let's just take a look at this one. So let's say, not that we'd want to do that, but let's say we want to get rid of the ore here in the water. Like I said, the easiest way to do that is going to be up here through the erase tool. Once it activates, all you have to do is brush in the area that you want to erase. You can make that erase brush larger or smaller by using your bracket keys on your keyboard, and that will take care of it. Now, again, the computer is deciding which part of the image is going to go in that spot. If you come across something that's not giving you the result that you want, that's when you probably want to go down to the clone tool. It's in the professional section. And let's let this load up here for a second. It'll give us something here in just a moment, and it'll allow us to set what our source is. All right, Allison has a second question. How about setting up a template with auto distortion corrections and remove chromatic aberrations to automatically apply to all photos? That's a great idea. So all you need to do to make that happen is create your own starting point template, and then you can go ahead and apply those optics corrections as part of that template. And next time you apply that template, when you bring your images in, that's a better starting point for you. I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. For the clone tool, let's say we want to erase this. So we want to choose a source. So the source I'm going to say is going to be something nearby with a similar texture and similar color. So there's my source. Now again, I want to make that brush nice and small, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And then I'm going to come in here and you'll see that tracking point is moving as I move that brush. And it's not getting it very well, so we can come in and do it again. There we go, it's getting it much cleaner. And I'm choosing where that's sampling from. Now, as we get over here, we might decide that we don't want to have that same sample point. So you can hold down the Option or Alt key to set a new sample point. So I'm going to resample there. And now you see the brush as it's traveling is traveling over a different area than it was before. And then maybe I'm going to sample over here to go ahead and take care of this area here. And it helps you get much more natural, believable results. When I use the clone tool, I like to resample often, so make sure you keep that keyboard shortcut handy for the Alt or Option key, and that's going to make a huge difference in the quality of your results. Once you're done, you can go ahead and click out of that, and now we've actively removed that from the image. Now let me go to Allison's question about a starting point template. So I'm going to go over to my Templates tab, and for now I'm going to go ahead and reset the adjustments on this image. I'm going to revert that to the original, and I'm going to go to one of my favorite templates. It's here in the scenery category, and it's called Fast Fix. And I find that it provides a really good starting point for most images. Now I believe this one's not a raw, so this might not work, but I'm going to go over to Edit and down to my Optics, excuse me, and go ahead and check that defringe. If I was using a raw file, I'd also have that lens correction option. Check that box, and now I would save that as a custom template and apply that particular template to any image I bring in next time, and that will make a really good starting point template. And you can adjust these settings as you like to your taste. Fast Fix happens to just be a favorite of mine, so that's a really good starting point. But adding in those optics check marks can make a big difference. All right. So Baljinder asked, can we deal with tint in the basic tool in case we don't get the brush and light tool? That is an excellent question, and one that actually I recently brought up to our support team as well. I would love to see the tint slider available under the basic. Right now all we have is temperature. However, what you can do is down here under the professional section, you have color harmony, and you can work with some of the sliders in here to go ahead and either get a little bit more of the pinks or the greens, so that's effectively your tint, and there is a masking tool here. It's not the most convenient workaround, but that's what I've discovered in those instances where I do need to brush in some of that tint. This is where I go. The other option is if you haven't already used your color tool for another option here, you can use this in HSL, and you can go to your saturation and you can increase the reds, magentas, and greens here to kind of adjust that tint as well. All right. I think that's everybody's questions there. I hope you guys got a lot out of this session. If you have additional questions that you'd like to see us answer, pop those into the comments below. We'll do our best to get those answered for you. We do keep an eye on those frequently. And if you enjoyed the session, make sure you give us a thumbs up here on YouTube. We always like seeing that. I guess that's it for today. I want to wish you guys a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.